I'm not even supposed to be here today. Well, since I'm here, let's talk about Clerks, shall we? This is Kevin Smith's 1994 film. This is, of course, the Clerks X DVD, the 10th anniversary edition. Full of goodies, this DVD. Of course, this March is March on Demand. I'm taking your request. Tell me what to review. This request comes from Zytlos Productions. Thank you very much for this recommendation. Now, this is a pretty landmark movie. This is a movie that I've watched over and over again. Never really gets old. Very funny, sharp dialogue. Just such an entertaining film that you always kind of have a new appreciation for with each viewing, I'd say. And of course, it's what put Kevin Smith on the map. Really, it was kind of the little movie that could, right? So it was a little tiny production. I mean, if you've watched any of the bonus materials or listened to any of Kevin Smith's podcasts, you kind of know the story. How, he took out loans, maxed out credit cards, got all his friends together, made this movie. So it was a little movie that could. Also did kind of give justification to the existence of slackers everywhere and their slacker attitudes. It's a very 90s slacker kind of tentpole movie that really spoke to that generation. But still, it does say a lot to any generation. Any kind of 20-something who's stuck in a dead-end job and kind of hates their life, or they're kind of going nowhere, but they beat on. This is the movie for you. We've all had those moments in life, so I think it really speaks to a lot of truths about any kind of age sense. So this is like a coming of age movie, sort of. But of course, it's definitely a little rougher around the edges. I've grown to appreciate its kind of style. Anybody will tell you that Kevin Smith, he is a stronger writer than, say, like a visual director or anything. And he'll be the first to admit it too. Remember, he was on deck to direct that Green Hornet movie, and he's like, "Oh, if I directed an action movie, it'd just be the characters talking about the action and looking over and saying, 'Oh, what's that?' Things like that." So he has a great flair for dialogue. That's true, but I've come to really like the visual style of this movie, like the black and white, the kind of rough around the edges, guerrilla style, sort of amateurishness of it all. I like. It almost feels at the end of the day like you're watching the security cam footage of of a convenience store, and you're kind of a fly on the wall of all the stuff that's going on. But it might take you off guard initially. I'll admit to you, my dear subscribers, that when I first saw Clerks, this was a while ago, before Clerks 2 came out, maybe a year or two before it came out, I had heard about this movie Clerks. I'm like, oh, okay, I want to watch this movie Clerks. What's this all about? I gave up on it. I did, and I have to admit that. I do, because this is the kind of movie, and you'll hear that, and about the makers of the movie. When it was playing at festivals, people were leaving until, finally, people had enough gumption to stick with it, to get to where it kind of grabbed you as the audience. I think I turned it off after not even 5 minutes. I think I'm I'm not really feeling this, because I think the anecdote was, okay, Harvey Weinstein was in the theater, and a colleague of him said, "Don't leave until you hear the word 37." And of course, the conversation about Dante, the main character of the movie, Brian O'Halloran, his girlfriend. In the conversation they're having about sex and relationships, she reveals that she has sucked 37 dicks, and that drives him nuts. And it's this great back and forth exchange, and it gets really funny after that. But kind of the weaker jokes, I think, are within that very first moment. It's okay, he can't open the gates. He's putting up a sign that says, "I assure you we're open." Da, da, da. Then the whole thing with the guy hassling the customers for cigarettes, pack of no brand cigarettes, please. He's like, "Whoa, look at this picture of a blackened lung. Look at this trank ring here. This came out of a 68-year-old man. He put the cigarette in here," and blah, blah, blah. He's gathering all the people around. It's smoking is bad, blah, blah, blah. And you're starting to think, well, maybe he's a doctor or something. But then they finally find him out, and that he, of course, is a representative for Chuli's Gum. And all that time, he's instead of smoking, chew Chuli's gum. And that was his brilliant master plan or something like that, which is a really stupid joke. But you'd think, with how wide Kevin Smith's universe is, and how, his movies himself, they kind of make, you know, suppositions about other movie universe, things like that. What my wondering is about, the Kevin Smith's Viewisk universe, as you want to call it. What exactly was this Chuli's gum guy's plan? Like, is the corporate world of like gum sales like so, you know, dog eat dog that he has to resort to those measures? Like, was he put up to that by corporate? Do they have other people in other, branches, sections of all over the states, like doing this like kind of guerrilla warfare of, taking away the business from the cigarette companies and bring it to the gum companies? Or was this like his own ideas? Like, you know what? I'm going to be salesman of the month. I'm going to sell all this gum. I want a whole movie about the Chuli's gum representative. That's what I'm trying to say. I want to know more about what that guy is thinking and how he ticks, really. So that's what I want to see from Kevin Smith. That'll be his next movie. But yeah, after it gets to that, after we really kind of, I don't know, you have to compress to the movie a little bit. You have to get on its same level. It is just such a great movie, such a funny movie. Again, it is all kind of brought together by dialogue, forwarded by dialogue, pushed by dialogue. We don't get too much of a story. I mean, really, what it is about, it's Dante, his friend Randall. Dante works the convenience store. Randall works the video store. Randall's kind of the free spirit, and he's kind of the cool. He looks like the prototypical 90s slacker. He has the cap, he has the plaid shirt, he has the acid wash jeans and stuff. He's great. And he's kind of cool with things in his life. He's just kind of enjoying the ride, sort of. But Dante's a little bit more miserable. He hates the job, and his life's kind of a little bit on the rocks a little bit. But like, he has his girlfriend, but he has his ex-girlfriend too, so he's kind of tossed between them. So that's pretty much sort of the very fine string of the plot, but it's not you wouldn't even really need that plot. It's just really kind of about the funny stuff that happens, the exchanges between the customers, of course, the wacky characters that come in and out. Most notably of all, Jay and Silent Bob, my two favorite characters in this movie. They're great, and like, it really does remind you of like people that you would see outside these kinds of stores, especially Jay. Like the drug dealing kind of guys, like, smoking weed, smoking. Wait, that's not in that movie, but you know what I mean. Just kind of like spouting off nonsense. Is he high? Is he nuts? What's going on? He's both, probably, but I thought there's kind of like a sort of realism to that kind of character, even though they became very cartoony later on in movies like, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, and in Clerks, the animated series. They're very much like cartoons, I found. Probably my favorite moment in the movie. Just seeing Randall's in the video store. Customer comes up to them. They say so much about these movies, but they don't tell you if it's any good. Are these two any good? He's like, no, I haven't heard anything about them. She's like, well, what about these two? But it's the same two movies. And he's like, oh, well, blah, blah, blah. They suck. She's like, but these are the same two movies. I tricked you. And he's like, I don't appreciate the ruse. And then she leaves, and he's like, she calls him an asshole. He follows her out the door. He says, you're not allowed to rent here again. But then, randomly, without knowing the context of anything, Jay just kind of looks at her, or you can kind of see him looking at her. He's like, yeah! I don't know. I just found that very funny. But it's just random shit like that. And that's what it is. It's kind of like, what's the Alfred Hitchcock quote? Some films are slices of life. Mine are slices of cake. I think here you have the cake and the life on the same plate, if that makes any sense. I hate food analogies, but it's true. It does feel like a day in the life. Of course, a very exaggerated one, but it comes from a place where I think pretty much anybody can look at this movie and sort of relate to it in a certain kind of way. They can kind of see where Dante is in his life, and hopefully, maybe learn a little bit from his not too sunny demeanor. Very funny movie. Kevin Smith, great at dialogue. Just an absolute classic. Probably still my favorite movie from him. Aside from maybe Dogma. This or Dogma. They're both like really different movies, but I love them both so much. So it was a little movie that could. Again, it's a little rough around the edges, but I think they really, once it kind of maybe got out of the festival circuit, and they kind of, I think this movie is most noted for like having a budget for the soundtrack bigger than the budget for the actual movie. So they added some, 90s music to it to make it really kind of, this 90s kind of movie. And when you look at, like, this collection here, it has the like the rough cut of the movie, where it's, we don't have the music, it's not really paced as well, so you can kind of tell where this movie, it could have stopped short at where it was going to go, and it could have been just a complete bomb, could have sucked completely. And most of all, the original ending to this movie, I gotta talk about the original ending to fucking Clerks. So horrible. Instead of just the day ending and the store closing and that's it, that's the end of the movie, that's all we need to know. Dante is closing up the Quick Stop, the convenience store, and a burglar comes in and shoots Dante dead, and then cut to black. And that's the most random, stupid bullshit ending I've ever heard of. So I'm glad whoever convinced Smith to not do that ending, well deserved, because that ending, if we had that ending, Kevin Smith would not have a career, and I sincerely believe that. But as it is, he does, and this is one of his best movies, so I love it. Clerks, if you haven't seen Clerks, I mean, you gotta check it out. It's a classic, absolute classic, and please stick with it. Wait for the number 37 if you're ever gonna watch it. If I would have gotten that advice, I would have enjoyed a movie. I would have enjoyed the movie a lot better. I would have, well, enjoyed it for a lot longer. I missed out on so much time. I didn't watch it until a couple of years later, just before Clerks 2 came out. I gave it another chance, and I loved the hell out of the movie. And I've watched it like 100 times since, including, just last night I was watching it to get this movie fresh in my mind for this review. So, 37. Just keep that in mind. So thanks very much for watching. March on Demand, I'm taking your requests. Check it. I'm going to put the link to the video below. If you want to make a recommendation, you can comment in that video. Let me know. What do you want me to review this month? And let's see what we can do. In the meantime, comment, rate, subscribe, all that good stuff. Visit Derek237.com. And until next time, I'll see you later.